Khan, Shalom Akyam. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, the teacher and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akyam, spreading this truth in sincerity. Shalom. Yeah, so in this video I want to speak on something that happened to me like yesterday. Actually, it started off the day before that, as I actually received a text message or a WhatsApp message from the woman that I used to deal with like half a year ago. And mind you, this woman is like Christian, right? And not only that, but when I was dealing with her, she already told me that she had basically demons plaguing her, like on the regular, in dreams, seeing things, like for some people, the regular things when demon plague them. I myself, only in dreams, but not in the physical sense. And Yara Tazah, that stays the same, that don't change. Because I often hear brothers, speak about, seeing demons out of the ceiling, seeing that demon tail, swirling, across the hallway and things like that. But I digress, a little bit. The point of this video is that, this woman, she got into contact with me, and she texted me like, hey, how are you doing? And then in the morning I replied to her, yeah, I'm doing fine. How is you? How are you doing? And then she said, yeah, well, I'm glad that everything with you is okay. But, she basically said that with her, it wasn't really the case like that, though. Because she said that she had some dreams and visions that she experienced, and she wanted to get in contact with me concerning those dreams and visions. So I told her, like, when you have time, and then right before work, I got with her on the phone, and then she started to tell them dreams. She said that she had dreams about seeing how the elites be doing things on like that higher level, right? That higher level witchcraft and that higher level wickedness, basically. The things that is going on upon this earth, that they have the power and capabilities to basically put an end to it, but they won't do it because those that are in power, they're the same. Those PDFs, you know what I mean? That's what she said that she witnessed in those dreams, and in those visions as well. Then she mentioned that she often got prayers, or she often had dreams, after which she started to put forth prayers, and in those dreams she said that she was trying to communicate with me, like telepathically, and that she was trying to reach out to me, by calling my name and things like that, and then she said that she was constantly trying to basically seek my help, in those dreams. And another dream that she had was that she was in the kitchen, and then she was washing something, and then water splashed in a certain way in her face, and then she started to choke on the water. as if that water was basically, entering into her airway. So basically what she experienced was those demonic attacks. And then, because she continually had those dreams about me, and that she should get in contact with me, and that, she should basically seek my help. She kept on praying and praying and praying, and then she said that last night, she also had a dream about getting in contact with me. Or basically, not last night, but the night before that. And then, as she spoke those dreams, Spirit hit me like, yeah, but, who do you pray towards? Because back in those days, did a bit of a background story. Her mother is Jake. Her father looks like Esau, but her father reminds me of my own father. Which if you would look at my father, you'd be like, is this an Edomite or is this a Jake? But through the Spirit, this man is very, I don't know whether timid and docile is the right way, but he's very calm, very collective, he's very skillful, with his hands, on the technical level. But it's basically through the Spirit, that we know that I'm a Jake, and that he also is a Jake because of his zeal towards Gadites, the statues, the shirts, the eagles, and things like that. Those are the things that my father really is zealous for. Back in the days, he listened to country and things like that. Things that he really much enjoyed, spending time on and, acquiring. So her father basically made me, think about my own father. So I never excluded her, as being an Edomite because of her father. And seeing that she was very, I don't want to say like very religious, but she was zealous, so I told her things concerning the truth, and also told her the names of the Heavenly Father, and His Son, and that, He's a dark-skinned man, and, for her, it caused a lot of contradiction with what I told her, which is the truth, and what she was basically brought up with, which is Christianity by her mother, her mother being from Suriname. So she grew up with Christianity, but I told her different things that for her it wasn't like contradictive. One way she was told, yeah, you gotta do a lot of things for the church, but then I told her, well, the woman is supposed to be at home, taking care of the house and listening to her husband concerning scriptures, being all subjection and gravity, etc. So for her that was very, contradictive in that sense. Like I said, I never excluded her from being an Israelite, which I told her the truth on a very basic level, and left it at that. Eventually, she decided to basically, how do you say that? She left me because she has a what is it? Not an anxious, but she has a certain attachment style, and the moment that things get too serious, or like certain emotional connection happen, for her that's like too much pressure, so she distances herself, right? So we basically left on good terms. She just told me like, I don't know whether to do this, etc., 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 right? So we left on those good terms, whatever. Back to the story. point is that in the meantime, I don't know what she been up to, what she did. She told me that she moved places. She now lives somewhere else. But basically, back to the story. What she did tell me was that she called upon God and Jesus, and I told her, like, that's not the names. I told you the names. So basically, when I listened to her dreams about me and seeking my help, and her being plagued, I told her, I'm not able to help you. I'm not able to help you in this sense. So what I got from the dream was that she should basically call upon the true names. Because the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, is the Redeemer and our Helper, right? Proverbs 18 and 10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. So I told her, like, I told you those names. You should call upon those. You should call upon those. Because I'm not able to help you, which the dream suggested that I could. But we know that dreams and visions, they are resembling other things. Other things that the Heavenly Father is trying to, tell us, basically. You know what I mean? So it was not that I was able to help her in that sense of, being her aid, being the one that she should look towards or that she should get back with. Which that is also something that it was like, why are you trying to get in contact? So I asked her straight up, are you trying to, seek if, try to see if you're able to come back or something? And she said, no, that's not the case. I said, okay, cool cat. But the dreams that she had about me was not about me, because she was constantly trying to call my name for help. But the thing is, the only thing that I was able to, or the only thing that I'm able to give unto her, are the true names of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see? So yet again, like I said, the dreams signify that she should call upon the names of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, in her time of distress, in the time that she's being plagued, which she's oftentimes, like she mentioned, plagued in dreams and visions. And the point of the matter is, when I have a demonic dream or attack, the first thing that actually happens in those dreams, like in an automatic sense, something that I'm not even, like consciously doing, it happens unconsciously, it happens automatic, is that I call upon the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, or think about those names to be delivered from, set perils or set things in those dreams. Because what I also had last time was that I think I was playing soccer, in my street in the dream, and then I kind of, like, I don't want to say I paralyzed, but it's like I froze. Then I fell down, and as I fell down, I fell into a black hole. Being like paralyzed. And that was the moment that I basically, thought about the name Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and that was the moment that I woke up. That was the moment that I woke up. So, who we should seek as our help and as a redeemer and as a refuge, in times of distress is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But she was constantly trying to call upon God and Jesus, because that's something that she had been told or had been taught, by her own mother. Which her mother is deceived as well, which I told her, like, your mother, she's basically praying to Satan. Because the depiction of Jesus, his name, those are not even correct. And then she said, yeah, you told me. And I think that basically was that wake up call, because then afterwards she said, yeah, thank you, I really needed to hear this. She really needed to hear this, what I basically told her. And that's basically it. That's basically the moral of what I got from those dreams that she had. She was being plagued. She tried to call upon my name in her mind, in some sort of like telekinesis, way, sense, which that is actually what we are doing with the Heavenly Father, right? Because the Heavenly Father is always connected with us, man. And through that we are able to basically put forth our prayers towards the Heavenly Father, which He then is able to hear. And depending on whether it is in line with what we need and what we should basically receive, the Heavenly Father is able to grant those things unto us, right? And I told her as well, like, for me it also is kind of strange, to help you out like this, because I don't know what you basically did in those 6 months, right? But basically that's between her and the Most High, though. Because I told her, if you did something with someone else, that's adultery. But yeah, like I said, that's between her and the Most High, though. I wouldn't take her back, because an avoidant attachment, that's what it's called, an avoidant attachment style person is unhealthy. When things get serious, they take their distance. And there's no way of communicating with them. The more you're trying to communicate with those people, the more they're going to distance themselves. Which that is opposite of what you would want, when things, it's like serious, man. So, a person like that, when they leave you, weeks, months, years later, that's when they realize, like, what gone, the feelings that they used to have or whatever, But yeah, man, those things all go back to, the way that people have been raised, by their parents, right? So yeah, I don't want to digress too much, and go off topic. But yeah, I do hope and pray that this, in transit, was edifying. And with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who teach and rule well, and shalom to the sincere Akim, spread this truth and sincerity. Shalom.